So it gives me great pleasure to bring out two customers. Would you join me in welcoming Rathi Murthy, who's the CTO of Gap, and Freddie Mac, who's the Deputy CTO of Freddie Mac. Tim Snyder, Deputy CTO of Freddie Mac. Come on in. Rathi, welcome.
It's my pleasure.
Tim, I almost gave you the name of your company. Come on in, have a seat. Delighted to have you here. I thought I would start on a somewhat informal note because Pat called me Anderson Cooper, okay? Rathi, you just did an incredible feat of going up to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro, okay? And this might have been, I think, last year. Did you, where are you in that? I think we got you sort of zoned in there somewhere. That's you, right? Did you see a gentleman named Pat Gelsinger somewhere up there?
I must have been so out of breath, I must have missed him.
He did it too. Okay, so that's you. And Tim, you know, not to be outdone, you've got a great motorhome. I think we've got a picture of a motorhome here. Okay. Can you take that to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro?
Because haven't tried yet. Might need to make it four-wheel drive to do that.
Okay, what's your favorite place to take the motorhome?
We head down to the Outer Banks, North Carolina,
good.
all the time.
When you do that, when Pat did his Kilimanjaro trip, I've done mountain climbing a long time and I'm done. Maurizio and I decided to drive up to the top of Mount Tam, and this was us going a carpool karaoke. So if we can take the motorhome up Mount Kilimanjaro, we'll be happy. But let's start with you, Rathi. This is an incredible brand, Gap Inc. So many different. I've got my Banana Republic gear.
Thank you.
But you know, tell us a little about this incredible brand. My wife buys a lot from Athleta, probably maybe too much. But nonetheless, you are in the midst of bringing this incredible business brand and IT together. How do you map business goals and IT priorities together?
That's a great question. I mean, one, we are a platform that has to provide a ubiquitous set of capabilities across all our brands. And if you think about how the retail industry is going through a pretty significant transformation, while all of us shop online all the time, there's still about 80% of the purchases that happen in store. So bringing that omni-channel and connected experiences seamlessly to all our customers is a huge technology challenge. And then secondly, we're all getting more and more impatient by the day. You look at something and you want it instantly. So speed, being responsive, being reliable, scale, all of this is extraordinarily critical. If she doesn't find what she wants, when she wants, she may not give you a second chance.
All right. Now, speed and scale, and it probably is very important during certain peak times, right?
Absolutely.
That Thanksgiving to Christmas stuff. How has that gone for you? I know a lot of your infrastructure runs on VMware. How has that sort of critical points of time gone?
We have about 90% of our production workloads on VMware. And over the last 2 peaks, we've had flawless peaks.
All right,
and thank you all. We were actually quoted as one of the retailers that performed excellently during peak.
One of the retailers that performed excellently.
Appreciate your
Fantastic.
help.
No, we're humble and hungry and love to keep you staying running during that time. Tim, your story is incredible, because Freddie Mac's gone through this incredible, sort of transformation. But in that, you guys came to a conclusion about the future of your data centers and a move to the cloud, which is pretty dramatic. How many applications do you have, by the way? Let's start there, because that's usually
roughly
the question.
600.
600 apps.
600 apps.
Okay. And maybe 5 or 10 of them SaaS. How many?
5 or 10 SaaS.
Like Workday.
ServiceNow.
But the others, 590 plus, you came to the conclusion you were going to move them to the cloud.
Correct.
And why not just start the refactoring and move them to the cloud, just like everybody else has been talking cloud the last 10 years?
Well, we're a heavily regulated environment. We have a lot of money moving through our systems. We can't take the risks to go and do a massive transformation of our apps. We're sitting on 100 million lines of code. And so when we looked at the analysis of what it would take to do that, the VMC offering popped in and was perfect to help us move quickly.
I remember when I first asked Tim that question, he said, Sanjay, try taking 100 million lines of code and transforming that, refactoring it.
Good luck.
So we began the discussion of migration, and you are in that journey basically going to migrate how many of your apps into VMware Cloud and AWS?
All of them.
All of them?
All of them, except for the handful of SaaS, a little smidgen that are left on some physicals. That will move up over the next couple of years, but 95% plus.
When I heard that, I practically fell off my chair, okay? But when I got back on my chair, how is that possible, and where are you in that journey?
We are 2/3 through. So we have 600 applications to move. We started in February. We expect to be done by Thanksgiving.
All 590 apps.
All of them.
That is amazing. That deserves a hand, ladies and gentlemen. I've never seen that in any, that's incredible. Okay, so, and as you do that, there is this big debate, and I want to come back to you, Rathi, because you've heard this through Pat's discussion today. Do you migrate? Do you modernize? Do you do both together? I'm going to come back to you, Tim, because I know you have a point of view on this. You began the process, Rathi, of actually modernizing before migrating with Pivotal. Let's tell us a little bit of how you're using Cloud Foundry.
Yeah, of course. So of course we went through our journey of, we have around 1,000 apps across.
1,000 apps in your case.
1,000 apps across the board. And it was very critical for us to start migrating what's critical for the business, the site, the stores, our inventory, without disrupting our business. And we often joke in-house, we have a huge ecosystem. There hasn't been a database that we didn't like, so we have them all in our family. So being able to actually modernize without disrupting the business was a complex challenge. We weren't all cloud native across, and Pivotal played a very critical role for us to be that crawl, walk, run in our cloud journey. So we have about over 60% of our workloads on Pivotal at this point.
So 60 to 70% of your 1,000 apps have been modernized steadily with Pivotal Cloud Foundry. And as you heard today, we're bringing that all together under this Tanzu. What do you think of Tanzu?
I think that's brilliant. And my passion is, I think Pat brought out the whole bringing the operator and the developer and the monitoring and ability to modernize and migrate all at the same time. That's a huge thing, so appreciate it. We also leverage Carbon Black, so we're a big...
All right, we're going to come back to that. She's getting ahead of the script, but that's all good. She's so excited. But let's talk about, you've got migrate and modernize. In your case, you started to modernize, but your migrate strategy is Azure today.
Yeah.
So here we're talking about the fact that it's a multi-cloud world. You've bet completely on AWS, VMware Cloud and AWS. You've got the modernize first and migrate into Azure.
Yes.
But in the middle of this is VMware, hopefully.
Yeah, it's all over.
Okay, great. Now, Tim, coming back to you, in this debate of migrate and modernize, okay, M&M. Maybe there's a bag of M&Ms for you guys afterwards. In this M&M world, you've got a debate as to whether you should migrate first and then modernize, or modernize and migrate. And you were telling me backstage, really, these need to be thought of as together, right?
Together.
Tell us more.
We started our Kubernetes and containerization journey probably 2 to 3 years ago. It's slow, right? We have probably 5% of our applications that are running in containers at this point. So when we looked at the push, we really wanted to push to migrate this year. Our main pitch was to get more resiliency. So that was the real business outcome we were trying to drive, and then give us a platform to continue to modernize.
So now with Tanzu and Project Pacific, which will bring Kubernetes deep into vSphere, what are your thoughts on that? Maybe the modernized part could go faster too.
I'm excited and want to talk to the engineers.
Tim was talking to Joe Beta backstage, and Joe already signed him up to be a design partner. So
sorry, Frank, I already signed it.
All right, so we're good. So that's incredible, and that's kind of a key message I would leave with all of you folks. The debate has been, should you just go refactor all your apps 10 years ago? And that's what the industry did. And then more recently, they used the term lift and shift, which we don't really like. We'd really think of it as migrate. And you heard through this conference, modernize, and we want you to really think of those together.
Yes.
Now, Tim, you are also starting to use Skyline with some of the way in which you connect telemetry into our system. Tell us how, it's early stages, but how are you using it?
Well, the VMC offerings continuing to grow and continuing to, it's modernizing itself. And we really push the edge of the envelope in terms of concentration of mass. So getting additional telemetry in place to understand what's happening on those edge devices on the network was critical for us to be able to continue to move as quickly as we are. So we were a buyer on that very early.
And you've got it connected now to some of the network devices, Skylines, and that will...
we're measuring 32 different parameters on the network in real time.
Great. Now, Rathi, as you think about the future of Gap, you've got the divestiture and so on and so forth. You've been able to not just use many of our tools, it's an ecosystem. You're using some monitoring tools like PagerDuty. Are they all integrated into the way in which you...
They're all integrated. Yeah, I think that we use a bunch of monitoring tools. Our alerting tool is PagerDuty of choice, and this is the way we've been driving the whole DevOps culture and revolution in-house.
That's great. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the end user landscape.
Sure.
You obviously were talking a little bit about Carbon Black, but we began our discussions with you, Rathi, during the AirWatch days, and began to really sort of deploy this in mobile deployments in your retail sites.
Yeah.
How has that gone, and where are you in that now what we call Workspace ONE journey?
So we are leveraging it in, I think, over 10,000 devices across all our stores and all our point of sale, iPads, etc. So it's been a huge deployment for us, and we're very excited to continue our journey, especially leveraging it in-house in our facilities as well for our laptops.
That's great. And the in-house part would be Windows 10 and so on and so forth down the
exactly.
road. And Tim, where are you in your end-user computing journey?
It's in-house, so we're using, we're absolutely leveraging Workspace ONE, love it. We are at the very, very tail end of our conversion. We've got 10 BlackBerry users left that are getting kicked off this week, and we're shutting the servers down next week.
You know, at a previous VMworld, I got in trouble here for sort of singing Let It Go from Frozen for the BlackBerry users. But at the right point in time, we'll be happy to ease off that platform.
Yes.
And as you think about the entire world of, end user management, endpoint management and endpoint security, I didn't actually know till we were backstage that you're a Carbon Black user, and Patrick, you'll be excited about that.
Yes.
That's the early forms of security. Our goal is to unify those.
Yes, absolutely.
We would be remiss if we didn't ask you, what could we do better? Okay, and either one can start. What could VMware do better? I mean, we're not perfect. There are a lot of things that we've had ups and downs, bumps in the journey. We've sought to build a close partnership. Maybe starting with you, Rathi, and then Tim. What could VMware do better in our partnership with you?
So first of all, like I said, we have over 50,000 servers that are powered by VMware. And in retail business, we have these peaks and valleys in our business. When there's a promo back to school, or like you mentioned, 4th of July, or the peak, or Thanksgiving, we go through about 600% spike in our workloads from the regular flow. So for us, it's super, super critical to be able to scale in that flux and be reliable, and VMware has done phenomenally. So we rely on you for that stability, efficiency, and security, which I think, thank you. You've done well for us and been that partner. If we ever needed something, I think you've always been there. As you're acquiring, and I'm super excited, especially as the rest of our ecosystem is all coming together with the Pivotal and Carbon Black, and you've been part of our journey as we're trying to migrate to Azure, et cetera. I would love for VMware to be that thought partner. How can we better leverage the family of tools in the right way that will accelerate and expedite our transformation along with you? So
that's great. We hear that from a number of other customers, which is, listen, don't just be reactive, be a consultative, proactive advisor, a trusted advisor to us.
Right.
From not just your executives, but the consulting team we put on. There's certainly many areas we can grow. Yeah. And especially to think about things like Pivotal. We're very excited about Pivotal Labs and some of the things that they will bring in terms of agile development. Tim, you've been through ups and downs with us, and you've been very gracious in giving us feedback, and sometimes a longer rope than we did, but you've been very patient through that. What advice do you have for what we can continue to do better with you?
So the one thing I would want to see you continue to focus on is the resiliency of the platform.
Resiliency of the platform.
Especially with respect to cloud. So we were on VMware 15 years ago. 96% of my apps are running on it, but running on top of enterprise class servers. So what we've seen is when we move to the cloud, those cloud servers go down much more often and go down much more catastrophically. And the difference is, can we get to where the VMC platform can actually insulate us from that completely? It does a good job today. I'd love to see the investment continue to have it do a great job of doing that.
Because when you're
give us time to modernize.
Absolutely, and because when you're done, you're going to practically be evacuated from the data centers and relying on VMware Cloud and AWS for a large part.
We're all in.
So we have to be that resilient partner for you. In the closing minute, maybe 30 seconds from each of you, what advice would you have to other people who are in the midst of their cloud journey? Maybe starting with you, Tim, and then we'll end with you, Rathi.
Build your tech team up, establish that very, very strong partnership with your crew, set aggressive goals, escalate very quickly when you run into anything to give the teams time to deal with it, and trust the tech and trust the team. It works.
Great, thank you. Rathi.
I would say one of the famous things our founders at Gap said was change or fail. I mean, I think with the cloud journey, it's evolving so rapidly. Having the mindset of we're ready to change, reinvent ourselves, and be ready to take some failures and quickly learn and adapt is going to be key to keep up with this pace.
Good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, why don't you give it up for Rathi and Tim, two great CTOs from Gap and Freddie Mac. Thank you, Rathi. Thank you, Tim. Thank you for being with us. Have a good one.